Welcome to episode 23 of Fighting Illini Live. We have football this month. We are 23 days away from when Illinois kicks off their season against Western Illinois on August 29th at 6 p.m. Central. We are so ready for this new season. We got a new background. We got a new logo. We got a new everything. I cannot wait for this season to finally start. 23 weeks is just going to be a few more of the show, and then we'll be able to talk live football. No more speculation, no more previews. We'll be talking about the real deal, ladies and gentlemen. Cannot wait. Tonight's topics, we got two topics, but they're both big ones, of course. We have got to talk about the preseason coaches poll that USA Today released on Monday, because, wow, there is a lot of talk about, especially from an Illini perspective. And then we are going to be doing our, it's not penalty. What's the word for third to last? I don't know. The third to last opponent preview, talking about the Maryland Terrapins to cap off our night. Of course, this show is brought to you on the Voice of College Football Network. How could you forget it now with the new background? Shout out Chris Sadler. Thank you so much. He's a graphic god. But of course, we will begin tonight's episode with a word from our CEO, Mark Rogers.
You can make a difference here at the Voice of College Football. Use the Amazon link. Financially contribute to the Voice of College Football without spending a penny. Same shopping experience. It's easy. Go to any video on any channel. Go to the description section and grab the link right next to the capital letters that say Amazon. Use that link, and Amazon will instantaneously convert to your account, settings, history, everything intact, just like whatever link you use right now. No difference. Pay no attention to the product that you see right there. Just go search what you want. Don't forget the Amazon link. Thank you for your support. Sincerely, the Voice of College Football.
All right, so let's get into it tonight, guys. We first, of course, got to talk about that preseason coaches poll. Wow. I'm sure you've seen it if you've been following the channel, if you're big on Illini football. But it was on Monday, so about 2 days ago, that the coaches poll was released. They pick a bunch of coaches at random to all give their opinion, and they give their own rankings. It's not as official as the AP poll that we will be getting at the start of next week. But it's all we have right now. It is the first true, ranking, and always a good ranking system to me, at least, as well, to see what these coaches, the people that are actually involved in the world of college football, think about these other teams. So Illinois was shockingly, in my opinion, ranked 12th in the entire country by the coaches poll. I don't know exactly how the point system works, like what votes get what points, but they received 734 points. It is the first time since 2008 that the Illini have been ranked in the coaches poll, and it is the first time they've been top 15 since 1990, where they were also 12th. There's only one time in this program's history that they have been ranked higher in the preseason coaches poll than they are right now. That was in 1985 when they were 10th. That is the highest they've ever been. They are right there. Crazy, crazy stuff. I don't know about you guys, but that really surprised me. The top 5 are Texas. They have 1,606 points. So just for reference, Illinois is very far off from number 1 in terms of points, but 12th. Ohio State then at 1,565 is second. So that's a 1-2 matchup we're going to have the very first weekend. If, of course, the AP poll will have to determine that as well. But even impressive to have now guaranteed the top 2 in the coaches poll will be facing off week 1 right away. So one of them's definitely not going to be top 2 after that. Then we got Penn State at 1525. Georgia is 4th at 1466. And then the runners-up Notre Dame at 1360. Those are the top 5 in the coaches poll. The other Big Ten teams, there were 6 total, including our Illini, that were ranked in the top 10 in this coaches poll. Number 2, Ohio State, and number 3, Penn State, which I already mentioned, but also Oregon was 7th. And then that is it in terms of Big Ten teams that are ahead of Illinois. Michigan is ranked 14th, and Indiana is ranked 19th. So the Illini are considered 4th in the Big Ten right now, only behind the 3 that that they had really no chance of surpassing. Michigan and Indiana are interesting. Michigan had a down year last year. I mean, they ended up 8-5. They ended the season really well, beating Ohio State and beating Alabama then in the bowl game. But I mean, they've got Bryce Underwood. Like, there's a lot of reason to be excited about Michigan and how they will be much better than they were last year. But I don't think it's crazy to say that Illinois is a better team than Michigan at this point, though, because there's still a lot that's unproven of Michigan and this new coaching staff, And then Indiana at 19, I feel like that's a fair ranking for them as well. I do think that Illinois is a better team on paper than Indiana because of the experience that this team has. And this roster has been together so long. This Indiana team really only came together last year. I've absolutely just talked your guys' ear off about Illinois, Indiana. But I don't think it's crazy to rank the Illini ahead of either of those teams. They weren't going to touch Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon, right? They're just not really on that level. But great to see that, though. Ranked ahead of those teams. Also ranked ahead of some big SEC names that I noticed, such as Ole Miss is 15th, Florida is 17th, and Tennessee, I know they've had a lot of changes to their roster, but still coming off a playoff appearance as well. That's a couple playoff teams that they're ranked ahead of. That's Tennessee as well. But also Boise State is 25th. They're the only group of 5 conference team to be ranked in that poll. They were a playoff team last year that Illinois is ranked ahead of. You got SMU. I forget exactly where they are because I didn't write this one down, but I want to say they were maybe 16th. They were high, but not as high as Illinois. So it's just crazy to see all those not only playoff teams that Illinois is ahead of, but also it's pretty hard to ignore the fact that Illinois would be slated for a playoff appearance at number 12. I mean, obviously, it wouldn't actually work out that way because group of 5 conference teams like Boise State would, if Illinois was 12th, Boise State would actually steal their place, winning the Mountain West, because you need to have one group of 5 conference winner in there. But yeah, no, 6 teams from the Big Ten. That was the second most of any conference, which is pretty expected. I think the Big 12 had 4 or 5, so the Big 12 isn't too far behind, actually. And the ACC had 3. They had Clemson, Miami, and SMU. I forget they're part of the ACC now. And the SEC had 9, which is just, they're not going to catch up to the SEC, but the Big Ten is dang good this year. And Illinois is supposed to be a big part of why at number 12. And again, wouldn't actually work out that way, but top 12 is pretty crazy. Like, we are no longer just speculating, if they beat up on their schedule, they can make the playoff. Like, these are actual coaches in the game of college football agreeing with that Illinois could make the college football playoff. It really blows my mind. I wonder what the highest they were ranked on anyone's list was, because obviously it's an average, because it's based on all your points. This might be a hot take, but actually, first I wanna just emphasize how it speaks to my point last week that I was making when we were talking about all those preseason awards and watch lists. Go check out my video on that if you did not see last week's episode, or just watch the whole thing. It's episode 22. We talked last week about how the Illini have just gotten a ridiculous amount of media attention for the program. Like, it's just not really unheard of, honestly, in my lifetime as an Illinois fan. I know I'm definitely on the younger side, but it just blows my mind how much media attention that Illinois has gotten. And now it's really coming together now that it's poll time. I mean, we'll see what the AP poll has to say next week, but 12th in the coaches poll is pretty damn good. And it just really the last few weeks in particular, Illinois has gotten more media traction than they probably have in the past 5 years combined. Like, teams, the media, coaches, everyone is really hyping up this team. It's not just me, guys. I'm not delusional. Yeah, back in February, I probably sounded delusional when I said that Illinois could make the playoff. But now, doesn't look that way now that we're only a couple weeks from the season starting. We're a little under 4 weeks away from the start of the season. Camp has fully begun. But, okay, here's that hot take from before. Sorry I teased y'all. But I actually am not too happy about this. You, as a fan, you want to see your team ranked high, obviously, right? It's great that the media, or rather these coaches, have seen Illinois for what I know, for what we know as fans, what they can be, right? But I do worry that this is really going to fuel Illinois' opponents, especially, like, say they come out and they're actually ranked 12th in the AP poll too, right? So we'll just ignore the fact this is coach's poll for a minute. Let's say Illinois is ranked 12th right out of the gate, which last year, I mean, the highest they got ranked was in the 20s. Maybe they broke 20s. I can't even fully remember because they definitely weren't ranked anywhere like this last year, right? And you're basically bringing back the same roster, which we know definitely has its advantages, especially in today's wild college football world of players transferring left and right and all of that. But I'm not going to say that this roster hasn't earned that, right? They certainly deserve to be ranked where they are, but I am still surprised. Does that make sense? Like, I'm not trying to hate. I really didn't think coaches and media were going to see them the way that we as Illini fans see the potential in this 2025 team. And so I'm pretty shocked, and I'm honestly kind of worried about the implications of Illinois being ranked so high, because I just feel like they're just going to have a target on their back now, right? And it also takes away the ability to work their way up. We all know that they don't have that hard of a schedule this year, right? They have a very Indiana-esque schedule this season, and that's a big reason why teams are really, really on, or teams. Well, that's why these coaches, media, that's why they're really, really on the Illini this year, right? But I just feel like that puts a huge target on their back, especially early in the season with Duke, right? Duke is not in that poll. A lot of teams thought that they might be. A lot of people still think that they will be ranked in the actual AP poll that comes out next week. But Duke is not ranked in the coaches poll. That is official. That is very unlikely to change by week 2 when the Illini go there. So Duke is going to be really hungry for a win in front of their home fans against the Illini, more so than they would have been before. Again, the Illini are definitely the better team. I'm not saying they don't deserve it, but it just kind of feels like a bigger step. I fully believe that the Illini were going to take that step to get to number 12, but I feel like we skipped a few steps, if that makes sense to you guys. Brett Bielema actually agrees with me if you're not having it. He said, quote, "Some people give expectations, and that's great. But for us at Illinois, we have to earn them." We have to have a chip on our left shoulder and our right shoulder. The way we've earned these expectations will be the way we earn success this year. That's from the man's mouth himself. So, I just think that puts a target on their back is really all that does. Instead of being ranked, probably around like 19, 20th, where I kind of thought they were going to be ranked. Yes, Philip, Illinois' schedule is better than Indiana's last year, but there's still not a whole lot of room to move up in their schedule, if you know what I mean. Like winning at Duke, that'll bump you up. Winning, or maybe though, because Duke's not even ranked. Winning at Indiana, boom, that'll bump you up. If they can beat Ohio State, which that game is sold out, by the way. That was the news that broke today. The Ohio State, what did I just say there? The Ohio State game is sold out. So that should be a good one. Like, obviously, you win that, you're going to move up. But outside of that, there aren't really that many opportunities unless there are some surprises in the Big Ten out of like a USC, a Rutgers, a Washington, maybe a Maryland. We'll talk about them in just a moment. But, I just don't see the same potential to really move up. Right? Like, say they lose to Ohio State and they beat everyone else. They'll probably move up a little bit more from 12. They'll probably break the top 10, say, if they have a one-loss season. But you basically have to have a one-loss season to be able to move up, right? And, it's exciting to see your team keep climbing their rankings and climbing their rankings and climbing their rankings throughout the season. There's less energy when you're just beating down on these teams to stay alive, to stay in that position. So I honestly just think, especially Indiana making the playoffs last year and now being ranked 7 spots below Illinois in the preseason coaches poll, that scares me a lot. They're going to be even more hungry for that win now because of that. And rightfully so. Rightfully so. So I'm actually a little worried about this. I never thought I would say this, but I kind of wish or kind of hope that when the AP poll comes out on Monday for the preseason, that Illinois is ranked a little bit lower than that. Like upper teens, probably, is what I'm thinking, just to take a little bit of pressure off this team. This team can certainly handle the pressure. They're one of the oldest rosters in college football. This team has been together for so long. They're going to be able to handle that pressure just fine. I'm not worried about Illinois' perception of this, right? From Bielema's quote, they're very, very focused on, they're not worrying about it too much. They're very, very focused on just getting things done, not worrying about all the noise, because they are getting a lot of noise this year. However, I do worry what more the effect it'll have on their opponents than them, if that makes sense, guys. So I don't know. Those are my thoughts on it. I know that's probably not the most popular opinion within the Illini fan base, but that's just how I'm feeling from the perspective of an Illinois fan. That does worry me a little bit. And yes, Philip, I do think that, yeah, USC or Washington certainly could be sneaky, maybe even Rutgers, maybe even Maryland, like could be sneaky. I don't know if they'll be ranked, but they'll definitely some sneaky teams in the Big Ten, right? Illinois' schedule is better than Indiana's. You are correct. I just more so for a comparison. Like everyone is seeing Illinois as this year's Indiana. So that's just why I keep making that comparison, and also because that's just such a big game for them as well. Like we're going to find out real quick what this Illini team is made out of between Duke and Indiana, and those opponents are definitely Indiana for sure is going to have a fire lit under their ass going into this game if they didn't already. It's just that fire will just burn brighter. But anyway, I've talked about this too long. I can honestly talk about this all day because I felt like my reaction to it was not what you'd expect, but We'll talk next week about where the Illini are ranked in the actual AP poll. They're definitely going to be ranked. There's no doubt about that. It's really just a question of where. I think they won't be as high, probably somewhere in like 19 to 15 range. It's probably where I think they will be ranked. But yeah, crazy to say. But honestly, I do kind of hope they fall into that range instead of being at number 12, because that just puts an even bigger target on their back than there already is if they're ranked 12 going into the season, right? All right. Going to use these last 9-ish minutes here to talk about Maryland. It is Illinois will have back-to-back home games against Rutgers and Maryland before heading into the final 2 games of the season. So they will face Maryland. That is, I can't remember the date, actually. I didn't write it down. But it's end of November. It's the week before. It's 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. So Maryland will be at Rutgers the week before, which ironically is Illinois' last opponent before this game as well, that we talked about last week. Check out my preview on Rutgers if you want to hear about that matchup as well. It's on the channel. But Illinois actually has they'll host Rutgers, and then they'll have their bye, and then they'll get to host Maryland. So this, other than week 1, will probably be the freshest, most rested that the Illini will be all year, because not only do they have a bye, but it's in between 2 home games. So this is a very favorable situation for Illinois. Not to mention that Maryland will be playing a road game, but they'll still be out on the East Coast because they're playing at Rutgers. Maryland, it's going to be a transitional year for Maryland for sure. They definitely had a down year last season compared to the last couple years in program history. A lot of transfers and just younger guys that'll need to step up for Maryland. So we'll see. It's really hard to predict now, since we're looking at November games now. We're really looking at end of the season, what this Maryland team is going to look like, going to be like at this time. But do just know that they are kind of going through a transition. Like if they are meeting them at the beginning of the year, there'd be absolutely no doubt in my mind that Illinois will crush them. I don't know if Illinois crushed them, but they still should definitely win this game. All-time versus Maryland, they have only played 3 times, even though Maryland has been in the conference since 2014, which I found very surprising. The Illini are unfortunately 1-2 in those 3 games and 0-1 in Champaign. So this will be the 2nd time Maryland will be coming to Champaign for a football game. Their last meeting was in 2023, 2 years ago, on October 14th. The Illini won that one. That was actually their win. They won at Maryland 27-24. And then their last meeting in Champaign was 2 years prior to that, on September 17th of 2021, in which they lost 2017 at home. Their only other meeting outside of that, their first meeting ever, didn't come till 2018. It was October 27th. That was at Maryland, and Illinois got rocked 63-33. We just were not good back in the day. And Maryland's had some good seasons since they've been in the Big Ten. Going into that, I mean, last year was certainly a down year for Maryland. They were 4-8 and 1-8 in the Big Ten, right? And they only won 1 game on the road as well. Their only Big Ten win was that thriller they had against USC. They won 29-28 in that one. Their other wins were out of conference. They beat UConn 50-7. At Virginia, they won 27-13. And then at home against Villanova, 38-20. But in 2023, they were a lot better. They've been consistently good outside of last year. 2023, they were 8-5 and went 4-5 in the Big Ten, 3-2 on the road, winning record on the road. They did lose to Illinois that year. That's when their last meeting was. But they had some good wins in the Big Ten, including some impressive road ones, like not crazy impressive, but still, I mean, any road win in the Big Ten is good. But, these are teams that are not complete garbage, like Michigan State, Nebraska, and Rutgers. But they did have some bad losses, too. Like, Illinois was only 5-7 that year, so I would consider that a bad loss for an 8-5 team. And then also they lost at Northwestern. Come on, that's always a bad loss. We know Northwestern is never good. And then they did beat Auburn, though. They went to the Music City Bowl that year, and they smoked Auburn 31-13 in Nashville. 2022, they were also 8-5 and 4-5 in the Big Ten. Only difference was they were 2-3 on the road, so a little worse on the road. But they played Michigan, who was ranked fourth in their first Big Ten game that year, and they lost by only 7, and that was at the Big House. That's really impressive still. They had wins against Michigan State, at Indiana, Northwestern, and Rutgers in the Big Ten. And then they went to another bowl. They went to the Duke's Mayo Bowl, which is one of my favorite bowl games. They lost that one, or they won that one. No, they won that one against number 23 NC State, 16-12. 2021, they were 7-6, so not quite as good as they got those 2 years afterwards, not prior. But 3-6 in the Big Ten. They did start 4-0, including a 62-0 win over Howard, and then the following week, winning at our Illini 22-17. But then they got absolutely wrecked the rest of the year. But they did beat Virginia Tech in the Pinstripe Bowl, 54-10. And then a shortened 2020 season, they were 2-3 and 1-2 on the road. Not really too much to say there. They did win at Penn State, though, but nobody was there, so take that with a grain of salt. Their head coach is Mike Locksley. Overall, his head coaching record is 35-67, which is not great overall, but he's been a lot better at Maryland. He's 3-0 in bowl games. He was a coach at New Mexico for a while, and that did not go his way. He's had a couple different stints with Maryland, not as head coach. He first joined them in 1997 as a running backs coach. And he was also recruiting coordinator from 1998 until 2002. Then he took some coordinator roles. Then he went to Florida 2003 and 2004, was running backs coach, and then he came to Illinois from 2005 till 2008, and he was the offensive coordinator for the Illini. Actually took them when he took over, they were 72nd in the nation offensively, and then he jumped them all the way up to 19th. So he did a great job when he was with the Illini. No doubt about that. The team also led the Big Ten in rushing in 2006 and 2007 when he was with the Illini, and then led them, or not led them, but he was definitely a big part of that 2009 Rose Bowl as well. And then after his success at Illinois, he went to New Mexico for 3 years. It was very bad. He won 2 games in 3 years. So he went back to Maryland as an offensive coordinator and QB coach in 2012 after the New Mexico thing did not work out. He did get to take over as interim head coach, and that did not start well. He started 1-5. But then he started to pick things up offensively. He had Stephon Diggs there that he got to work with at wide receiver. So just some good stuff there. Then he went to Alabama, and he was an analyst for Nick Saban for a little bit before then coming back to Maryland in 2019, where he's then taken over as head coach. Since then, he has been he's been decent at Maryland. He's 33-41. So he's been at Maryland, still a losing record, but his career record looks a lot worse than that just because of the New Mexico years. Real quick, we got a minute here. We're going to talk about some of the top players to watch out for on the Maryland Terrapins. You have Jalen Husky. He is a senior safety. He is incredibly dangerous. He actually moved there. He played corner until last year when he moved to safety, and it was a very good move for him. He was fantastic. You got Ratrell Perry at offensive tackle. He's a junior who's transferring in actually from Central Connecticut State. I guess they found a gem there. You got Daniel Wingate at inside linebacker. He is a junior. He's very dangerous as well and was a core leader of their defense in 2024. Then you got Levain Scruggs. He is another safety to watch out for, so definitely got to worry about their secondary. And then you have Dorian Fleming. He was a tight end, or is a tight end. I don't know why I said was. He's transferred in as well from Georgia State. He had 49 catches, 6 touchdowns there with the Panthers. I think the Georgia State Panthers. And then just other 3 players to look out for real quick. You got Jaleel Farouk, who's a wide receiver, senior. Nolan Ray, a running back, who's a sophomore. And then Justin Martin, quarterback, who's transferring in from UCLA. So, yeah, and he's definitely in the quarterback. likely to be their starting quarterback this year. That is it for episode 23 of Fighting Illini Live. Thank you so much for joining me tonight, guys. Next Wednesday, we will be back, episode 24. We will be talking about the AP poll rankings that will be coming out on Monday, August the 11th. And then we'll be doing our penultimate opponent preview, talking about the Wisconsin Badgers. Thank you so much for joining me tonight, guys. ILL.